discovery that could solve so many problems is used for weapons instead. You see? This is an immature science, an immature humanity. But we say we want you to take the mature point of view. Now, who are we really? We're spirit souls. So we need a civilization that promotes the realization of spiritual consciousness, because that's who we really are. And if people understood this and people followed it, followed through, you know, if you take this as an assumption and then you use that to generate further conclusions, you see that the only kind of technology that makes sense is a technology that promotes spiritual growth and maturity. Otherwise, why bother? If it's simply going to create more problems. And it's not worth developing. As long as profit is the only aim, then people will do wrong, just to make a buck. But when profit or advancement or progress or whatever is defined in terms of spiritual advancement, then that creates a society that's based on sane values, on spiritual wisdom. And that's what's really going to make people happy. That's what's really going to make you happy. So, there's a saying, be the change that you want. So if you want to live in a world that has spiritual values, that means you have to take the initiative to create that community now. We've already taken some initiative. That's why this program exists. That's why you were able to take advantage of it, and you know how good it makes you feel to chant that holy name. So just imagine if you can create a local community based on those values. Well, it's not, we're past the point where it's a nice idea. Now you have to do it for survival. It gets started now. Learn how to attract people. Learn how to present this knowledge. Learn how to convince people. Learn how to show people the methods in a way that they can understand how it works. You have to become a spiritual teacher. You have to become a spiritual leader yourself. That's the only answer that is really going to help you. It's really going to save you. So, I guess I've been talking for a while. And now it's time for your questions and some discussion. Oh, it sure is raining hard. It's supposed to snow tonight. Ooh.
Hare Krishna. Hare, okay. There's a question from Bruce. When establishing our communities, can we use weaponry as means of security?
I can't hear you.
When establishing our communities, can we use weaponry as means of security?
No, that's stupid. Weapons always attract violence. You know, there's a saying that if there's a gun over the mantelpiece in the first act, then by the third act it'll be used. It's an old theater saying. And that's true in life as well. If there's a gun in the back room, sooner or later somebody's going to use it. Build trust, not fear. When people have weapons, then they use fear tactics to control others, and with the weapon being the final escalation of the fear level. Don't fall into that trap. Control people by attracting them with wisdom, not by threatening them with weapons. The guy who comes to the gate of your compound wanting to rip you off for your food storage is more desperate than the people who are inside your compound. If you know how to play that, you can convert him. I'll give you an example. Our sister community over in Congo, Africa, they had a security problem with the rebels up in the hills. Rebels in the hills were coming down, stealing the vegetables from their fields and cutting down the trees in their managed forest areas. So the leader there, he arranged a meeting with the rebel chiefs. He went right out there, talked to them, and said, hey, aren't you tired of running around and hiding and shooting at people and stuff? Why don't you take up our method of organizing, and then you can have the same facilities yourself. You don't have to fight anymore. And they said, oh yeah, we're really tired of fighting. This is a drag. How do we do what you're doing? And so he started teaching them. You see? Convert your enemies. Don't fight them. Like our enemies are the other religious organizations who are derived from the same source. Other disciples of Srila Prabhupada. They're our worst enemies. And very soon they're going to be suffering because they haven't made any preparations for this changes that are coming up. They don't believe us. But then there's going to be a time when they finally get it. And so what are we going to do? We're going to say, hey, here's our community plan. Download it, use it, read it. Do it. No problem. So they won't be enemies anymore. We don't have to worry about them anymore. Because they're all going to be in the same boat. Try to understand. Everybody needs the knowledge. Everybody needs the wisdom that we have. We have the solution to their problems. They don't. The reason that they're violent is they're not smart enough to come up with these solutions on their own. They need guidance. You have to find a way to teach them, and you have to be strong enough and courageous enough to teach them before things go into the stage of violence. See? Not that we keep our knowledge to ourselves and withhold it from others. No, we give it to everybody, even our enemies. And that diffuses the whole dynamic of enemies. If we're kind to our enemies, then how can they attack us? But this has to start right from the beginning. See? If you speak out very strongly, then you'll find out who your enemies are. And you know you have to work on them and convert them before things escalate to the level of violence. Actually, nobody wants violence. Even the people who threaten violence do so in the hope of avoiding it, because they know they're going to get hurt too. People fight back, defend themselves. So, the best thing to do is to speak out very strongly, find out who the enemies are, and then preach to them, convert them, offer them the same wisdom that we have.
Here's a question in Spanish, so I'll translate the answer. The question is, with all these changes coming, aren't the people in power going to try to destroy, to look for their own interests?
Well, of course they are.
Sí, lo van a hacer.
But what are they going to destroy?
Pero ¿qué es lo que van a destruir estas personas
The
en el
people
poder?
who are against them.
a las personas que están en su contra.
So we're not against anybody.
Así que nosotros no estamos en contra de nadie.
We're neutral.
Somos neutrales.
We don't take political sides.
No tenemos lados políticos.
We just withdraw from the political arena.
Simplemente nos salimos de la arena política.
Yeah, that way we're not a threat to anyone.
Así no somos una amenaza para nadie.
You know, we're not trying to say that these guys shouldn't be the government.
No tratamos de decir que sean el gobierno.
We're not saying change the government.
No decimos cambia el gobierno.
We're saying change your consciousness.
Decimos cambia tu conciencia.
Yeah, change your heart.
Cambia tu corazón.